To Rimworld, a game with an upbeat vibe, cheerful music, and cartoony graphics that's about how horrible life as a frontiersman must have been. Watch as characters you love slowly die from starvation because you forgot that winter was a thing that happens every year. Watch as your favorite characters get eaten by pumas or kidnapped by pirates only to have their organs harvested and sold, which is terrible because you wanted to sell those organs. Now your quarterly report to the board's gonna be off, and what are you gonna tell them? That a pirate stole your profits? Those don't exist anymore. Engage your OCD and your autism at the same time by planning meticulously every little detail about your colony, only to find out that raiders with Molotov cocktails do not give a shit how good your colony looks.
Everything burns.
It's a game where everything will be going great. You're prospering, your colonists are happy, and suddenly your game is over because someone went hysterical and killed everyone because she had to sleep in a cold room. Rimworld is the kind of game where you'll fix a problem, then create two more. It's a management game, but also so much more. Sometimes it's a soap opera, sometimes it's Shakespearean, but if you're able to lose yourself in it, it's never dull. Well, except for like 90% of the time. But other than that, it's great. So, let's dig in, shall we? Subscribe, please. Thank you. Bye-bye. In Rimworld, you have three different storytellers. What's a storyteller? Well, it's how the AI determines what's going to happen to your settlement and how often it happens. Cassandra is a steadily increasing curve of difficulty, so the longer you play, the harder the event she throws at you will get. So you have to have a balance between offense, defense, and survivability in order to make it. Cassandra is the most balanced difficulty, at least that's what people tell me. I've yet to see it. Phoebe is more laid back. Her events don't happen as often as Cassandra's, but that's because they lull you into a false sense of security. See, the moment you start getting comfortable, she throws a horde of rats at you that proceed to destroy everything in your base, including but not limited to your self-esteem and your will to live.
That's true.
And Randy, well, we're never gonna know what we're gonna get with Randy. Randy is a storyteller, is like the beginning of a Chuck Palahniuk novel.
Not how you pronounce that.
I don't give a sh**.
You never know what the hell is gonna happen next, or even why the events that are currently happening could ever possibly happen in anything resembling the real world. What is up with this dude? Here's an example of what you can expect out of a typical game of Rimworld. Meet Rocco Rococo Rhodes, a former professional wrestler and soldier and the all-time best governor of the great state of Minnesota. Rocco and his girlfriend are in love, but Rocco's girlfriend is an alcoholic. He didn't know it, the poor guy. See, one day, Rocco told her that he was going to leave her if she didn't stop drinking, and she agreed to stop. So, Rocco stuck around, got to know her better, but what my main man Rocco here didn't know was that she was out there while he was away, fighting for his country, getting absolutely faced every single night. I'm talking falling down drunk, talking to strangers on the street about your personal problems, calling your exes at 3 a.m. kind of drunk. Rocco got deployed on some out-of-the-way rock out there in the fringes of the galaxy, and on their way there, the ship had a catastrophic failure, and the two of them escaped on pods together. After they crashed, the group was elated to find that their troubles weren't so bad. They landed with some basic weapons, some food, and best of all for Emily, beer. Precious beer. She quickly, and in secret, drank away their remaining supply of beer, and after about a week, she went through withdrawal. She was depressed, withdrawn, and Rocco was starting to worry. He wasn't as mad that she lied, just more concerned that at any moment she was going to lose it and hurt the settlement. Eventually, predictably, she lost her entirely and threw a destructive tantrum, and Rocco was forced to knock her crazy out before she caused any real harm to herself or did enough damage to the settlement that it killed everyone. Rocco arrested her to prevent her from causing any more damage, and a rift formed between them. Rocco had to sleep alone, work without her, and take care of himself every night, if you know what I mean. And Emily was sober for the first time since she was 9 years old. And with only herself to keep her company, she was starting to realize just how much she hated herself. Things were not looking good for Rococo's sex life. Then, Rocco's dog decided that life down here on the ground just wasn't what he thought it was going to be and decided to meet his ancestors in doggy heaven. Rocco was getting distressed, and to make things even worse, animals kept attacking him. It was like the animal kingdom decided that he needed to die specifically. Emily was tired of being a prisoner, and she tried to escape, and Rocco was forced to, once again, knock out his wife. And I know what you're probably thinking, man, this game sure does have a lot of domestic abuse in it, and that would be true, but you're forgetting something. It's not domestic abuse if she's under arrest.
You say I've got nothing to eat?
Stop right there, criminal scum! Nobody breaks the law on my watch!
She begged Rocco to let her out. She pled with him, I'm gonna just run down to the store, grab some lemonade and a hot dog with some of that chili you squirt out from a dispenser, and a 6-pack of brews, maybe some cigarillos, and I'll be right back, I promise. Rocco decided to lock her in her room until she came to her senses. It had been days since he arrested his wife, and she seemed to only be making incremental progress. At this rate, this settlement would die before she got any better. Rocco was a dumbass, and Simon could barely read. She was the only one in the settlement with a lick of sense capable of doing research, and without new tech, the settlement would die. When she finally got out of prison and rejoined the camp, it was just in time to watch her boyfriend, Rococo, die. Mauled by a wild animal, bleeding to death in her arms before she could patch the wound. And then she immediately started their roommate. Man, that's rough. Rocco was my man, yo. Wait, what the fuck? Dude, that is so dirty. Oh my gosh, he immediately started going with the other dude. Oh my god, she's an alcoholic and a coke addict. But eventually, the loss of Rocco weighed heavily on both of them, and the stress got to be too much. Simon wandered out into the frozen tundra in a daze and became a popsicle, and Emily died alone from starvation. But as she laid there dying, she was comforted by the fact that she was going to leave behind a fantastic-looking corpse. And that's the kind of story that you'll get in RimWorld. How sad or happy your story is depends on the difficulty you set for yourself. Your choice as storyteller just determines how random the circumstances of your death happen to be. With Cassandra, you'll die from slow attrition at the hands of an uncaring universe, and eventually entropy will come for everyone, except lobsters. Phoebe will give you a more laid-back story, which at higher difficulties will allow you to rebuild after your last catastrophe, only to come back when you least expect it and roll over your settlement like a tsunami. And like a Florida retirement home orgy with Randy Random, anything goes. So, do you want a tragedy, an upbeat story of triumph in the face of adversity, or are you more in the mood for a comedy? Well, RimWorld has you covered in all aspects, my friend. Now, character creation ain't really up to you. You can re-roll characters and hope you get a good one, but aside from that, the only thing up to you is your characters' names. So what you end up doing is re-rolling your characters until you get something decent. But before you do any of that, you need to pick your starting point. Just like Kenshi, your starting point determines how many people you start the game with, what supplies you have access to, and in a lot of ways, decides how hopeless your playthrough is. See down here, we care about this right here. Now this is the average of all of our skills together. Realistically, you want all of these skills to be above 8, and you want at least one character in each of those roles to have passion for their work. Passion is signified by this little fire icon. One little fire icon means they have an interest in this skill and in getting better at it. This gives you 100% experience and a mood boost when doing that type of work. Normal work gains 35% experience and gives you no boost to your mood. Now, two of these icons, that's what we really want, because having a burning passion for your work gives you 150% EXP and a 14-point boost to mood. So, it's important that every character be passionate about the work that they're going to be doing. Then there's traits, and there's some traits you'll want to look out for depending on what your character will be doing the most. So for instance, Fast Learner is excellent for anyone because it gives you an insane boost to EXP gain for all skills. I try to roll every character with this trait if possible because it is that damn good. If you happen to roll Fast Learner and Too Smart, you need to find a way to make that character work because they will max out their skills super fast. Another one to look out for is Tough. This is mostly for your frontline characters. This trait will make your character take 50% less damage. That means your character will last twice as long as other characters in a fight. And Industrious is another trait that is good no matter what. You get 35% more work done every day because of the work speed boost. And if you get Hard Worker along with this trait, do whatever you can to make that character work for your colony. An extra 55% work speed is nothing to scoff at. Then there's the more subtle traits like Nimble. Now, Nimble is good for a melee fighter as it helps them dodge more attacks. The Jogger trait is great for anyone, but especially good for ranged fighters as they'll be able to kite melee fighters better than someone who moves at normal speed. And if you get a ranged character with Fast Walker as well, take that character no matter what. I mean, unless they're completely useless otherwise. Now, the next thing you want to look at are the incapable of skills. This means that no matter what, your character will not be able to do those things. For instance, if you have a character who is incapable of doing dumb labor, they won't be able to haul items. And if your characters are somehow incapacitated, say they lose a fight with an animal, you are screwed. So it's important to keep an eye on this when you're creating characters. Health is another important trait. Some characters have old injuries or medical conditions, and some of these can be quite debilitating.
I'm having chest pain.
I don't give a fuck.
For instance, Karen here has an old gunshot wound. The penalties for it are pretty low, and she god rolled her shooting skill, construction, and mining as well, so there's no way I'm getting rid of her. But if she had Alzheimer's and cataracts, yeah, she'd be a no-go. We're jettisoning her with the rest of the useless cargo. Now, we'd have to replace her, but as is, she's good for us. Hell, maybe even great because her social skills are high too, and she doesn't have any personality defects, except being scary and
Damn! I can fix her.
But she's a social lady, and in fact, everyone in our group is social, which means they'll get along, and there won't be too many fights happening. This is good synergy. She's incapable of artistic endeavors and intellectual. That's for nerds anyway. This lady got calluses on her hands and ain't in for that brainy. Over here is something that I think is important that most people might ignore. It's important for your immersion and your connection to the characters that you create. La Muñeca was a labor camp orphan. Her parents got blown up at work, as parents often do, and she grew up in a camp where the orphans, the little lazy parasites, are forced to work like a good, productive member of an authoritarian regime, and as such, she really got to like building practical stuff and beating things and people with a pickaxe. Later on in life, she became an enforcer in an odd turn of events, a cop to be precise, and as such, she's not a big fan of drugs or the people who make them. So that's gonna be really interesting when we become the largest criminal organization this side of the toilet rim. Her goal is to tame their little patch of land and make the world a little safer. How does one do that, you might be asking? That's one dead body at a time. Now, El Jefe is different. See, my man was a bodyguard for the nobility, and as such, he got used to identifying poisons and learned the techniques for growing both medicine and weapons. He came to love plants, and even when he started working as a bartender in his more mischievous days, he was growing and selling illicit substances to his clientele. And when they'd leave the bar, he'd follow them back to their homes where he'd brutally murder them in their sleep because Reza's a bit of a psychopath. See, he's beautiful.
What a beautiful chocolate man.
He's kind, but he also lusts for blood, so he definitely fits the profile of a serial killer. Smiley is a cool dude, man. He grew up in a desert hippie commune doing peyote until they saw God, and he later went on to become a philosopher, which is a completely useless job. In other words, unemployed. He's the type of guy who can just sit around all day playing video games and then write a 20,000 word video essay about why video games are cool and you should play them and subscribe and give me money. But what he really wants is attention. See, Smiley is a social butterfly. Nothing he loves better than talking someone's ear off about dumb shit, but he also likes reading, which means he's perfect for research. Hard labor? Nah, not for this guy. He's an egghead all the way. And knowing all of this about your group gives new meaning to everything you do and build in this game. Just like with Kenshi, stories will emerge. And unlike Kenshi, they usually have a tragic ending. When you start a new colony, the first decision you need to make is where you're going to land. This is, in my opinion, the most important choice that you're going to make, because you can absolutely screw yourself with this choice. Now, other people might disagree with me on this, but I think this is the most important choice that you're going to make. You need to make sure that your colony is next to other non-hostile colonies. It doesn't matter if you're surrounded by hostile ones. You need to make sure that you're surrounded by also good ones, because later on in the game, you're going to run out of things like components and other crafting materials, and you're going to need to trade with other colonies a lot. And it helps if you are close to those colonies that you need to do trade with. Also, make sure that the path between you and those colonies are not blocked by impassable mountains. For beginners and people that don't want to deal with winter, I recommend a temperate forest with year-round growing seasons. The benefit is you never need to worry about starvation or wearing warm clothes. The downside is that there's a lot of predators, but that also means there's a lot of meat and leather for hunting. This tile also has listed the stone types available in that biome. Marble is great for interiors, and granite is best for outside defensive walls. Also, check the disease frequency. The lower, the better. Now, mountainous regions, I have to talk about that a little bit, because if you want to set up a fortress that cannot be penetrated, the mountains, deep into the mountains, is the best place for you. But it has a lot of problems. Mainly, there's not a whole lot of places to grow, and you're a lot less likely to get fertile ground. So, we're going with a forest. Now see, winter is bad because it prevents you from growing stuff, but it's also good because your characters can build a snowman, and that's pretty rad. Other than that, winter sucks. But here's why I like it anyway. It adds another layer of difficulty to the game and forces you to engage with every system. It also forces you to look at research differently. For instance, I could research machining to get auto turrets, or I could research better power supplies so I can run more heaters, or I can research hydroponics and grow food while it's snowing. It changes your priorities, and that's why I like it. But make no mistake, there is no benefit to snow. So you can easily do without it if you don't want to deal with that aspect of the game. And with that in mind, it's time to play RimWorld. The crew has landed. Now what? They're confused and their adrenaline is high, but nighttime is coming soon and these people need shelter before the whims of nature take their lives. First off, pause the game now and leave it paused until you have the entirety of your base planned and ready to build. In higher difficulties, every minute counts towards surviving, so we need a place to stay, a place to craft, a place to do research, and most of all, a nice cozy place for our murderers and amateur botanists to sleep. Now before we get started with all the building and crafting, we need to talk about wealth management. Now El Jefe is no stranger to the drug trade. He's been around it long enough to know that wealth is a way of attracting thieves like flies are attracted to So here's a technique that will help you manage the difficulty and size of raids. Now, one thing that you could do, and this is the most popular technique I've seen, is to limit what you mine and limit what you produce and the buildings that you build. The more stuff you have, the more wealth you have, and the more wealth you have, the more that other camps will covet that wealth. If you have dead animals laying around, burn them. Dead raiders, burn them too, because yes, even fresh corpses have value to someone. If they drop weapons you don't need, smelt them down. See that big vein of gold ore? Don't mine it until you need it. Think you need to stockpile food? Think again. Only make as much as you need to survive a bad event. Everything on the map has value once you harvest or mine it, and contributes to your wealth. It gives the storytellers more raid points to send bigger and badder enemies at you. You can also build large rooms that serve multiple functions, like a room that serves as a barracks, a dining hall, a workshop, and hydroponics bay. You'll lose mood points for interrupted sleep and bad bedrooms, but you can gussy up that one room with enough art that the impressiveness of the room overrides the mood loss for the most part. Then you can gift items that you have in excess to other factions, which will decrease your wealth while increasing your reputation. If you have a high enough reputation with a faction, they'll send military aid and leave gifts for you, which you can then gift back to them for more reputation. It's a win-win strat, and I actually use this in my playthroughs. Now, doing all this wealth management means that your production and progress will be slowed as well. If you're looking for a slower approach to the game, this is how you'd go about things. In fact, I'll be doing wealth management because on the difficulty I'm playing, let's just say Cassandra acts like Carrie fucking Underwood and is gonna treat me like an ex-boyfriend and slash a hole in all 4 of my tires. Now we need to pick up some of the valuables on the ground that dropped with us on the ship. Go to the architect, then orders, and pick the option for allow with the little finger on it. Then drag your cursor over the items to highlight them. Do this for the entire map to ensure that your colonists pick up all the loose bits of steel and food that's laying around out there. Then survey the area to find the best place with the most room and access to resources to build. El Jefe decides to build camp near this suspicious looking place because he's a whiz with plants, and he saw that big patch of fertile land over there and a source of marble and granite for our future walls. But that walled-in place, he got some bad vibes from it. So go into your zones and create a new zone and select the area around this place, invert it, and in schedule set the colonists to this new zone. This will prevent anyone from screwing around over there too much and awakening something awful. Now you want to settle near fertile ground because crops grow faster there. Faster crops mean you are rarely caught in a position where your colonists are starving to death, and it makes your production more flexible. When you can change course mid-season and grow something else without losing days and days worth of growth progress. You can see how fertile land is by clicking this icon here. If you're new to the game, there's a helpful tool called the planning tool under architect. The plan tool doesn't do anything per se, but it does allow you to block in your settlement without actually committing resources to building. You always want to plan your layout as much as possible before building to ensure that you have enough space for all the buildings that you want. I like to start with a workshop, a kitchen, and a bedroom that's separated from those buildings. I do this so I don't incur the disturbed sleep penalty. Now, Jefe likes to grow. He's what you might call a savant at these kind of things. It's not something he'd want anyone to know, but even though he's a bloodthirsty killer of men, he could spend every moment of every day inside a greenhouse growing illicit substances that bring joy to millions of people. And we need him to put those skills to work because being able to grow your own food is key to survival in Rimworld. Being able to smoke your cares away is just a nifty little bonus. We could grow by laying out what is called zones. These are parts of the map that have certain rules. For instance, you can have a zone where your pets are not allowed to go, places that get snow cleared automatically, or in this case, zones where crops are grown. Now, just like in real life, surviving out there in the untamed wilderness is dependent on how many supplies you can accrue before winter descends upon you. I mean, summer is no joke. You can stroke out at any time, but winter will murder you. So, prepare wisely. Create enough growing zones that you'll be able to amass more than enough food to survive the long, cold winter. You need to channel your inner squirrel in RimWorld and try to stuff even more nuts into your mouth, you greedy, nasty little squirrel. Hefe elected to grow rice, cotton, and another plant that Dollface swore she'd seen before. Why not potatoes? Well, because those grow in the ground. No sunlight, nothing, just worm. And Hefe don't like eating no tubers. Trash can food is what he calls it. We grew rice and strawberries because Dollface loved strawberries and did not ask if they could grow them, so much as demanded at knife point. Wait! So Hefe did not question the reasons, he just did what he was told. It wasn't just because he was scared of her, and for sure he was definitely scared of her. She was indeed a psycho, but you know how when you're hanging with a really good looking girl and she's being kind of an cursing out waiters and just being generally rude, but you find yourself agreeing with her because you want to fuck her more than you want to be right. It was like that. But if you're trying to go for the best strat, best food in slot, rice is your go-to early game. Cotton is your second most important, but most important of all is smokeweed. We need... not for smoking. No, they were gonna have to start small, making some joints and selling them to whatever happy soul stumbles upon them. Cotton, however, is very important because you need to make clothes, which you also need to survive the winter. Trying to survive winter wearing a t-shirt and torn cloth pants will mean that you can only work for about a minute before you start losing health to hypothermia. It's hard to survive when no one can go outside and gather resources, so make sure you have clothes that are warm enough to keep your colonists from freezing up like a computer running Windows ME. That's a little joke that dates me, like carbon dates a fossil. Also, you want to make sure you don't overgrow or store too much plant matter or meals. Remember, everything has value, so don't make more than you need to survive. Remember, if you run out of food, go kill an animal. The best way to get a 6-man raid early in game is to stock up too many supplies you don't need. Next, the crew needed a place to build their settlement. Now make sure you've designated an area for stockpiling and don't make it too big. The larger a room is, the harder it is to manage its temperature. So in the summer, it'll be a lot harder to keep that stockpiled food frozen, which is undesirable. For now, make a 9x9 room for both your sleeping quarters and stockpiles. I'm going to spend a little bit of time showing you how to organize your settlement for maximum efficiency. The reason this is important is because walking from place to place is where your pawns lose most of their work hours in any given day. So, for instance, if your storage facility is on the other side of the map from where your crafting facility is, your pawns are going to spend most of their time running back and forth. So, I like to build my kitchen and my crafting facility on either side of my storage facility. That way, I'm relatively close to the stockpile of everything that I need. Later, when you're trying to increase your productivity even further, having shelves next to your crafting benches will become really helpful in eliminating time wasted between pickup and drop-off. When you're trying to fulfill an order of 10 normal shirts, but you only have a few days to fulfill the order, not to mention walk to the place, you'll be happy with every minute of efficiency that you're able to get out of your pawns. Now that we have the zones planned out, next we need to lay out our building. I personally start with the floors. I do this because walls can be put in an area that floors cannot, because floors have to cover a larger area than a wall. So you might be building on soft ground and not know it until you start laying down your floors. And the best way to see if ground is too soft is to click this icon right here. This will tell you if the ground is too soft to build on, so turn this on while you build your structures or when you're planning out your structures. Once your floors are down, it's time for walls and then doors and furniture. Now, I, like many of you, neglected furniture in a lot of my playthroughs. I wasn't concerned about my character's mental health. They're just pixels on a screen. I don't really care about them. Well, if you have that attitude, stop it. Make sure that your living areas are spacious, well designed, and have comfortable furniture and structures, making the place look more impressive. The more impressive a room looks, the more your colonist's mood will go up anytime they're in that room. And mood? Mood is one of the most important aspects of this game because nothing will destroy a colony quicker than someone having a mental breakdown. And lights? Don't forget to build lights. Nothing screws up production faster than a room that has no light. You get a speed penalty on any crafting or work done in darkness, as well as a debuff if your character isn't some kind of weirdo that likes to work in the dark. Next, you want to clear your work area of all vegetation, so pick the order for clearing plants and select everything in your growing zones and building areas. El Jefe likes nothing more than growing, but cutting down plants, he likes that almost as much. Because of this, I can have him prioritize plant cutting so my builders won't get slowed down when they need to pull a tree out of the ground. This is the scheduling tool. Familiarize yourself with this because you'll be using it a lot. There are two options, manual and auto priorities. I like to set my jobs manually based on the strengths and weaknesses of various pawns. For instance, your pawn may have a passion in cooking, but only a 2 in skill. You don't want that guy assigned to cooking as his highest priority because he'll end up giving everyone in your colony food poisoning. Always set your highest priorities to 2. That way, things like doctoring and firefighting can be set to the highest priority, which is 1. A priority of 1 means that that pawn will drop everything they're doing to do this other important task. Set everything your pawn is efficient and skilled at to a priority of 2, and anything they're just okay at to a priority of 3. You want there to be at least one person to do each job, so keep that in mind. Even cleaning and hauling are important jobs, so make sure you assign at least one pawn to that job. Anything above a 3 in priority will never get done unless the pawn is idle. I personally don't set anything to 3 unless I need a backup pawn. If that pawn isn't good at something, I set them to never do it by leaving the square blank. This means that that pawn will never do that job, even if you ask nicely.
Pretty please.
No.
Next, you want to build a power source for all your doodads and doohickeys, so we're going to build a wood generator and later a wind generator. But we also need batteries, but we need to research them first. And don't sleep on batteries. In the winter, having power stored in case of emergency is a big step up from freezing to death because no one has chopped any wood. Our ultimate goal, however, is to build a geothermal generator since we have a bunch of steam geysers on this map. We should rush to get these early game if we can, but we also need to think of defense, so we need to balance our research with the wants and needs of our colonists. We want geothermal generator, but what we need are automatic turrets at every corner of our home. Now, after you've plotted out where your air conditioners are going to go, it's time to run conduit to supply power to all the major areas. Remember, you don't need conduit to run to every device, you just need the conduit close enough for the wires to reach. And you want to use hidden conduits for almost everything, because if you have exposed conduits, the first thing that these enemies that come to raid your base are going to do is destroy your source of power. And if they knock down a conduit that was, say, powering all of your turrets, you, sir, or madam, are. The last thing we need to do is assign work hours over here in the scheduling menu. Now, I personally like to give my pawns 9 hours for sleeping and 4 hours in a row of recreation. I've tried giving 2 hours in the morning and 2 at night, but more often than not, my pawns would miss their rec time overworking or being manually assigned to a task, and it would result in Smiley eating up all of our food, the fat bastard. With 4 hours, there's at least a chance that they won't miss their rec time. Then, I like to leave 1 hour in the schedule for the pawns to just do whatever they want. Stare off into the void, look up at the sky, and I schedule the other 10 hours to work. I'd assign them more work, but the way I think about it is that it's more important that these little fuckers stay happy, because if you have to stop in the middle of your day because one of your characters saw a dead body and needs to take a little breaky break, that's really gonna slow things down. You see, you have to channel your inner CEO for this one, folks. Remember, a happy worker is a quiet worker, and a noisy worker is noisy because they brought a gun to work. Now, after you've gotten everything planned out, unpause and watch your little worker drones get to building. Dollface was looking at these guys she was with and thinking to herself, I gotta be realistic here. I can only knock around the old bean for so long before I get tired of it. I should probably shack up with one of these dudes, and El Jefe was too beautiful, like a girl. But Smiley, yeah, he was alright. Nice smile, unassuming, doesn't enjoy murder, because let's be honest, being with someone that shares all your interests is pretty boring. You'll never have anything to argue about, so she wasn't sure who to go for. Because Jefe was a violent sociopath, and all of us like a violent sociopath, but Smiley was weak, easily manipulated. It was a tough decision. So she decided it would be best if she held off on any life-altering decisions until she's beaten on some things with a hammer. Violence always got her brain going. But Reza wasn't like Dollface. He was thinking to the future, 5 steps ahead. See, eventually Reza knew that they were going to run out of those little machine components, and if they did, that means no more heat, no more AC, no more food stores, and eventually no more colony. He knew the components were going to be expensive, and they had nothing to trade just yet, but Reza knew something that could make him money no matter what backwater rim planet he found himself on. No matter what language the people there spoke, everyone knew the language of pleasure, drugs. He knew how to grow them. Smiley could research how to refine them, and Jefe could sell it. There was only one problem. Dollface hated drugs, and most of all, drug dealers. But if he could keep it a secret, chances are he can make a tidy little profit, fund Dollface's army, and nobody would ask where they're getting all these resources, because if she gets what she wants, she might not care about how she got it. While all this was happening, Smiley, he was doing Smiley things like standing at this desk and researching and standing at this desk and researching. Basically, you want people to build stuff, people to grow stuff, and at least one person to stand around reading in the air-conditioned living room while everybody else does all the hard work. That was Smiley's specialty. After a day or two of hard labor, the crew finally had a bed, and Karen had finally made her decision. Smiley was her man. Not because he was handsome or had a great personality or a gigantic cock, but because he had a bed to sleep in, and she was quite fond of that. So she latched on to him like a lamprey, and the next thing you know, she had him ensnared with her crazy hot hypnotism. Not to put too fine a point on it, but Smiley was also married already, and he did not tell Karen that because he was afraid that if he came clean about his wife, that Karen wouldn't have sex with him. And different area codes and all that, right? Now, we need a place to store all of our food, but the crew realized that just picking their food up off the ground and laying it in a room was not going to keep it from rotting. So they needed to build a power supply and air conditioners to get the temperature of the storage room down to below 0 Celsius. And just as they were about to finish their initial building plans, they got a taste of what's to come. A raider, a naked dude wielding a club. Jefe was looking at his fridge and thought to himself that this thing needs to be able to scale up, and the way it was designed currently was going to lead to a lot of problems down the road. It was in prime real estate, the farm was close by, the kitchen would soon be close by as well. It was positioned to be in the perfect spot, but the inefficient design was gonna come back to bite them in the ass down the road. Like I said in the previous chapter, it's important that your pawns don't have to run very far to pick up and drop off materials. So since my farm is gonna be here due to all that juicy fertile land, it reasons that the place where I store my food and the place I cook my food be close by as well. Because what happens most of the time is that the pawns won't even bother taking the food into storage and will instead opt to cook it immediately. If your kitchen is close by, this eliminates a ton of travel time. But all that food is going to need to be stored somewhere, because if you just store it in a hot room, it's going to rot and become inedible. So we need refrigeration, and this is where we have to have a long, exhausting conversation about how temperature works in RimWorld. See, this is a refrigerator. You got walls, you got a floor, and you got an AC. It's pretty basic. It's also wrong. This design is crazy inefficient and will cause you to lose your AC through doors and thin walls. The best way to design your fridge is to design it with double walls for insulation. That's right. 2 walls next to one another ensures that your cold air doesn't leak through the wall. A double wall is nice, but we'll still be losing air through the front door. That's why we need an airlock. See, you build a double wall at the front with a door on the inner wall. Then you create a 2-space hall behind that door with another door on the outer wall. That way, the door behind you closes just in time to trap the cold air from the inside door. You wouldn't believe how much cold air is lost just opening and closing the door all the time. Then there was the AC units. Hefe knew one thing for certain. When a raid comes, the first thing they're going to try and do is cripple our colony with some probing attacks. Take out a utility here, blow up a conduit there, and slowly they'd die from resource drain at the hands of pirates. The best way to fix this is by enclosing the AC units in walls with a thick gap at the back without a roof to vent the hot air. You can set an area to have a roof or not have a roof in the zones menu here. See, pirates, when they breach your walls, they're going to head straight for the first high value target that isn't enclosed by walls to attack first. So if your AC units are all enclosed by walls and say there's a wood generator just sitting out in the open or solar panels, the pirates will head for those to destroy first. In fact, an unpowered turret is fine bait for a group of pirates if you want to attract them to junk first to give you enough time to close distance with them. Now, with double walls and AC units contained, 2 AC units will keep this fridge below freezing without ever needing to be changed, unlike with single wall units that will require, during a heat wave, 4 or more units on full blast all day long. Once I set this design in my base, I never needed to change it. Now we gotta talk about dry storage. Hefe was tempted to store everything in the fridge, but the fridge was prime real estate, and he didn't want to be constantly opening up that door and letting the air out just to store a stack of wood. So, just across from the fridge, Hefe laid out his plans for their storage facility. His reasoning was simple. You don't want all of your valuables saved in the same space in case something really bad happens. For instance, he stored all his batteries and explosives in a building way on the other side of the colony, far away from where the other colonists slept and eat, and that way, if shit blew up, they didn't end up taking half the community with them. The way Reza saw it, you really need a wet storage for stuff that decays and a dry storage for everything else. So, Reza built himself a storage facility for all the building materials and crafting supplies. He also installed some shelves to organize all the materials. The way we manage this is we go into the storage setting for each zone and set the items we want stored in there, like food, medicine, and plant matter in the freezer, and cloth, building materials, and weapons in dry storage. With shelves, you have to set what can be stored in each shelf, but a shortcut is to copy the settings from one shelf and paste those settings into the rest of the shelves. Reza likes to cook. Of course he does, right? Nothing better than getting all dirty in the soil and cutting that plant immediately so it could go into a pot of water to be cooked, so you can not only see, but taste the fruits of your labors. But what about meat? Everyone needs a protein, right? Well, he was gonna need a butcher's table for that, and he was tempted to put the butcher's table in the kitchen. I mean, it makes sense after all. Don't want to walk too far to butcher a corpse and then all the way back to cook it again, right? No, don't do that. Bad. Stop it. Food poisoning is a gigantic pain in the ass in the early game because it makes your pawns do everything at half speed, and it's easy to get cross-contamination when the room you use to cook is also covered in animal blood or other blood. So always do your butchering in a room that is separated from the kitchen, and clean the kitchen as much as possible. A good way to mitigate food poisoning is to make sure that the floor of the kitchen is straw, because straw doesn't get as dirty as a wood floor and doesn't need to be cleaned as often. You can use a straw floor until you get access to sterile floors, which I highly recommend as soon as you can research it. Meat. Meat becomes valuable later on as it allows you to make survival meals for caravans. But what about all this lovely free meat just laying around, not doing anything, rotting? Surely there's something we could do with all that. Well, there is, but it requires at least one of your characters be a psychopath and a copious amount of privacy. We need to set up another private zone so that other colonists won't stumble upon our handiwork and have nightmares for the rest of their lives. If another colonist sees your psychopath whistling while he works, and by works I mean cutting up people into kibble, then they will get a serious mood debuff. I mean, seeing something like that isn't something that you just forget overnight, you know what I mean? I remember one time I walked in on my friend shaving his balls in the communal bathroom in the military, and there he was, you know, just shaving his balls, you know? He had his balls in his hand, and he had to lift them up, you know, because he was getting the underside at the moment when I walked in. And we made eye contact with one another, and it was very uncomfortable. And that may sound pretty minor, but I wasn't able to like speak to him for like 2 weeks. So you can imagine what it would be like if I caught him butchering a human corpse. Actually, it probably would have been better to walk in on him butchering a human corpse instead of butchering that low taper fade. What? Actually, I don't even know what that means. My son keeps saying it. I don't know what it means. Somebody tell me what it means in the comments. If you make it so regular folk can't enter the room, you don't take that risk. Now that we know how to do it, why do we want to do it? Because we want to farm. We want to farm because muffaloes are a great source of wool, and they can carry a lot of stuff when we do trade caravans. And I mean, we already got all this human kibble laying around, you know, we might as well use it. You know, God hates a waster. Kibble can be fed to animals and made from just about anything, even human. The only downside to this is that your animals will start eyeing you up whenever they get hungry. And the other thing that's really good about this strategy is that kill boxes, well, they're not just about guns and shooting people in the face. No, sometimes you can get really creative with your kill boxes. And in order to get really creative, you need a lot of rats. That's right, rats. You need a horde of ninja assassin rats trained to kill any pirate that comes near its pit. And for that, we need a lot of kibble. And the reason why that's actually a pretty good strategy is because your animals are an immediate target for any pirate who's trying to break into your base. So if you want the pirates to always go to your kill box, make sure there's no turrets there and fill it with a bunch of animals. What'll happen is they'll make a beeline to get to those animals, only to realize that there's an entire room full of them and they like the taste of man flesh. And that will be the last mistake those pirates ever make. And now that we've talked about the boring stuff, now it's time to talk about the fun stuff. Let's talk about money and how to make it. La Muñeca was getting suspicious of everyone in the colony. People were hiding things from her, and it did not make her happy. If she hated one thing in this world, it was a liar. It all started with Reza. See, Reza was building a room in the crafting area. It wasn't much, just a tiny little empty room, nothing going on inside, but Reza and Smiley put a sign on the door that said, "No girls allowed." And that just got her brain going. What were they doing in there that they needed girls to stay out? They could be doing anything in there, playing spin the bottle or would you ever? And without a girl in there to balance things out, well, you know.
She's kinda gay to me.
Then while she was out there doing Firewatch, she noticed a little strip of land in between the massive rice paddies where only one type of plant was growing. It looked like a weed to her, but she noticed it was planted in a way that made it almost hidden, as if someone was trying to hide its existence. So one day she cornered Reza in the kitchen to confront him about what she had found and to ask why he needed a room that only he could go into. What was he trying to hide? His face went pale. I'm not hiding anything, doll, you know? It's just a man cave, you know? Nothing more, just a place for dudes to do dude stuff, you know?
Then why can't I go in there when you're not in there? What's wrong, Hefe? You look pale.
All right. You got me. It's,
Let's go. Out with it.
It's just that, well...
I'm starting to get angry.
It's a wank shack. Silence fell over the group. The two of them stood there, silent for a moment, both of them processing the lie in their own way. Finally, after a long, awkward moment, Dollface broke the silence.
You don't like jerky chub?
No, only, only one at a time in the wank shack. It's a rule. Dollface searched Hefe's face, and Reza fiddled with the gun in his pocket, unsure if his ridiculous lie was gonna get him killed.
Okay, fine. Probably don't want to go in that room anyway.
Yeah, probably not. Dollface was not fooled. She knew Smiley didn't need to interfere with himself when she was putting it on him every night.
Oh, you're bending it?
No, something else was going on. Her suspicions increased when Reza, out of nowhere, started insisting that he be the one that talks to traders that came into town. He wasn't exactly a social guy, and bartering wasn't his strong suit, but sure enough, after every barter, he'd walk away with a fat stack of money, and on top of that, a ton of goodwill from the traders. What was he selling, and more importantly, what was he giving away to get all that cash and goodwill? It was time for Dollface to pull on her training as a cop and set up surveillance. So, she watched Reza and Smiley as they went about their day. Every day after harvest, Smiley and Reza would go into the wank shack and an hour later come out with a package wrapped in paper that they would take into the freezer. So, Dollface waited until everyone was asleep and searched the freezer. On a shelf way in the back was a sign that said, you guessed it, no girls allowed. And there were the packages. Inside were joints. Smoke leaf joints. Now Dollface was pissed. She wasn't unreasonable. Out here in the Rim, you gotta do what you gotta do to survive, so she didn't mind that they were selling drugs. She cared that they were lying to her. But she had an idea that could turn all this around in her favor, so she waited until harvest day and waited in the freezer. When Hefe came in to deliver a package, he was shocked to find his stockpile gone.
You looking for this?
I can explain this.
Explain what? Lying to me? Getting my boyfriend to lie to me? You know, I hate nothing more than a liar, Reza. But two liars? That's the worst.
Well, what are you gonna do? Huh? I'm making money. I'm providing for the colony. You can't afford to lose me.
Yeah, you're right.
I am?
Yeah, but things are gonna change. From now on, I get 30%.
What? Why?
Just think of it as protection money that you pay every week.
Now, Dollface knew that a value went way further than simple profit. Yes, you can make a ton of money from trading or goodwill by giving it away, but smoke weed has some other benefits too. Unlike Dollface, your compatriots are not made of stone. They have emotions, and sometimes out there on the battlefield, you see some shit that'll haunt your nightmares. Soldiers are only as good as their hands are steady, so smoke leaf joints are the way to go. Here's some benefits. Smoke leaf is great because you could smoke a joint once every 2 days and take no risk of getting addicted to it. Psychite tea is much the same. What you can do is rotate your use. If a character is going through a tough spot, have them smoke a once a day and drink tea on the next. If you set a use schedule, it's even better. Let me explain this screen. On the left, you see a list of and in the middle, you see a bunch of icons with X's and checks. The first signifies that a character should only take when they need it for their addiction. The little drop-down icon is what we care about. This allows us to get some variables for use, like frequency, mood, and recreation thresholds. Beer can be used once a day without risking addiction. It's harder to make than other on the list, but it is also the least risky. Smoke leaf is safe to use once every 2 days, so we set it to that time frame. Same with psychite tea. The mood and recreation thresholds are just like what they sound like. If your mood or recreation falls below a certain threshold, go snort up a line in the bathroom.
They don't have a good bathroom to do coke in.
Will fulfill both mood requirements and recreation requirements, so your soldiers can get more work done without needing to take a break, but it also keeps them happy without having to manually intervene. The other important part of this menu is the keep an inventory column. Always keep your on your pawns at all times, at least one of each type, because having a in your inventory after you saw an open mass grave can save a pawn from having a mental breakdown. Now, Dollface has a plan for that money, but she had another problem to take care of. See, for whatever reason, all the prisoners she was taking on the battlefield always ended up either dying in prison or being released back to their colony with pegs for legs and 2 nubs where their arms used to be. At first, she just figured that Smiley was a terrible doctor, but after it kept happening and the mass grave was nearly full, Dollface started having questions. It turns out her boyfriend was running an organ harvesting ring. It started out as a hobby, using every new prisoner as a practice dummy to increase his medical skill, but once he harvested a liver here, a kidney there, and realized there was real money to be had in the Dr. Giggles field, he turned it into a full-time obsession. At first, Dollface was repulsed by this, and Smiley was getting used to the idea of never getting laid again because after all, she was letting him keep his balls, so that was nice. But La Muñeca had another idea. See, Smiley would need to put those medical skills to work for her. See, if there was one thing Smiley was good at, he was good at crafting and medicine. If we prioritize fabrication and cybernetics, Smiley would be able to make cybernetic limbs for her soldiers and install them. So, she made Smiley a deal. You keep doing what you're doing, and I'll turn a blind eye to it, so long as you help me build a super soldier army. They had a deal. Hefe would be in charge of making the money, and Smiley would be in charge of putting that money to good use, making an army of $5,362 men. But how was Dollface going to pull her weight? Well, fabrication is a great research project, but it takes a long time to get to that point, and the colony was already running out of resources for components. And soon, they were going to need advanced components, plasteel, gold for conductors, maybe even uranium, and this is where Dollface comes in. Let's talk about caravans. Dollface was getting a lot of offers at this point from some of the friendly settlements nearby. Very lucrative offers, in fact. Most of them required her to take a group of highly armed individuals to eliminate some annoying characters who pissed off the wrong people at one point or another. When they were offering garbage bounties for these guys, she didn't really care all that much. A psychic lance here, an insanity lance there, and those are good rewards, don't get me wrong. Making someone lose their mind in the middle of a fight is a great way to do crowd control, but we didn't need them so much as wanted them. So she didn't take a whole lot of notice, but the bigger her colony got, the more lucrative the offers got, to the point where nearby towns were offering marine armor of excellent quality just to take out a base of lightly armed thugs. This was not an offer she could refuse. She looked down at her torn and tattered clothes and pictured herself clad head to toe in the best armor that money could buy, and it was then that she knew what she needed to do. She needed an army, and the 3 of them just wasn't going to be enough to wipe out a camp, let alone engage in campaigns of destruction against the heathen hordes of the Rim. Sadly, this offer would have to be turned down for now, but given enough time to prepare, should another opportunity arise, Dollface didn't want to squander it. Quests are a great way to get a big boost to your effectiveness very quickly, and for free, and for very little effort. All of my best gear all the way up to the end game was obtained either through crafting or by quests. So, don't ignore these, especially since most of them are quite easy to complete. As if by some sort of miracle, a potential soldier showed up, a wild, naked girl named Tessa. Tessa, by the way, was the only word that this lady could say, so when Dollface needed to impart an important piece of information like,
"You're naked and starving, and I have food and clothing for you,"
she would just respond by pointing at herself and saying, "Tessa."
"Yes, you, Tessa, me, Doll."
Tessa pointed at Dollface and struggled to find the sounds that she needed to make to repeat what Dollface had said, but the only thing that came out was, "Tessa." It was pointless trying to communicate with her, but she had some awesome stats. She had a minor passion and all the things that the colony needed: mining, construction, medical, and surprisingly, intellectual. It didn't take long for Doll to recruit her and introduce her to the other members of Doll's crew, who proceeded to stare at the naked, dirty girl until Dollface gave Smiley the look. The look that meant, "I've already killed one boyfriend, I'm not afraid to make it 2. But now they had a problem. See, they needed clothing for the poor naked girl, and they hadn't even built a tailoring bench yet. So that meant that Tessa would be getting a mood debuff for unwanted nudity until somebody made her clothes. Hefe wasn't in any kind of hurry, but Smiley was. He could only look at the ground for so long before he got caught looking. Dollface got to work on the tailoring bench while Hefe, who had not prepared for this possibility, set about planting cotton for making clothes. And just as they managed to get Tessa some clothes and a weapon, they got another visitor. Yet another naked girl named Gazelle. Except she thought she was a bad enough dude to take on the whole colony by herself. Spoiler alert, she wasn't. See this little pond here? This is a great fighting position because it's unobstructed, gives our shooters a clear line of sight, and forces the enemy to go around it to close into melee distance. And it's got a fallback position, which is the bare minimum that you need to make any fighting position work really well. You always need a place to retreat to, remember that. Once Gazelle went down, Dollface panicked because she realized she hadn't actually set up any place to hold prisoners yet. Instead of building a bed and walls to keep her in and losing this potential recruit who, once again, had awesome stats, Lamineka set up a sleeping spot on the floor, set it to medical and prisoner, and ran her to her new home where Hefe and Smiley proceeded to patch her up. The army was growing fast, but now they had another problem. Not only did they need more clothing for the crazy naked lady, but they also needed to build a place for her to sleep. But there was an even bigger problem. This girl was addicted to psychite, and if she didn't get a taste soon, she was gonna flip out and probably get herself killed. Problem was, the colony only had a few doses of the stuff, and they didn't know how to brew more. So Smiley switched his research priorities to drug production, but there was yet another problem. How were they going to deliver the drugs to her while she was a prisoner? The solution was fairly simple, but it took me an uncomfortably long time to figure it out. I created a stockpile zone in her room and set it to only hold psychite tea and clothing, and set all other stockpile zones to not hold psychite to ensure the doses got delivered to her. Unfortunately, she had a few mental breakdowns before I figured that out.
Bitch, are you for real?
Gazelle was close to breaking and joining our crew, but we didn't have a place for her to sleep, so we set up her room in one of the places we had designed with the plan tool. But Gazelle was a jealous type of person, and she needed a bigger and better room than everyone else. So we put extra furniture in there to ensure that everyone else would be jealous of her instead. Dollface realized at this point that she was going to have to accelerate her plans to get caravans going because their supply of material was running low, and even though she really wanted to research flak jackets, what she needed was packaged survival meals. And to speed things up, Dollface created another research bench for Smiley and Tessa to double their research speed. This is actually a good time to make this point. When you get access to a second researcher in the group, it's important that you make a bench so that you can have 2 people researching at the same time, because you want your tech tree to increase faster than your wealth, and having more than one bench can make that happen. Everything was going good until this happened. And you might be thinking that you don't need to research IEDs or fire foam, but you do. Fire foam traps are insanely helpful for putting out fires like this that can get out of control and sweep over your entire base. But the most important thing to remember is that if there is a fire, and if it's anywhere near your base, dedicate your entire crew to putting that shit out. If you don't, it can quickly get out of control and ruin your beautiful, burgeoning society. Dollface was ready for her first caravan and had spent a week taming some muffalos to carry all the stuff she would be taking with her to trade. Everything was ready, but there was still one problem: raids. They were getting bigger, and it was starting starting to get a little overwhelming. If Dollface left with her crew and the colony got raided again, chances were they wouldn't be able to defend themselves. Unfortunately, this caravan couldn't be avoided, but Dollface had a plan. If they packed up everything that they needed into the caravan and took off, as soon as they were off the home tile, they could dump all that extra useless junk like weapons of any grade below good, armors, clothing, extra wood, extra food, extra plants, anything that couldn't be sold or wouldn't be worth selling. This would bring the wealth of the colony down significantly. And since 2 crew members would be departing with food and trade supplies, if a raid happened back at home base, the people left behind would be able to handle it. Because when you start a caravan, it takes the wealth of that caravan out of your colony's wealth, which brings the raid points that the storytellers can send to you down as well. Then they built some walls around the base using granite blocks that Smiley cut. The idea was simple, the less angles of attack available to the bandits, the better able this group will be to defend the colony. All of this was important because this is how colonies get lost in the mid-game. You're making money, you decide to build a bunch of extra buildings you really don't need, and a bunch of defenses and turrets, and suddenly the raids balloon to a ridiculous degree because you didn't plan a way to funnel the enemies and because half your soldiers are gone and you didn't reduce your wealth. The colony is on fire and everyone is dead. Womp womp. The first caravan was a trade mission. When Dollface got to the town nearest their colony, they found that they didn't have a whole lot of components. 5 wasn't nothing, but it wasn't worth the trip. It's a good thing that we picked a spot surrounded by towns. There was another one, larger, close by. It would just take a few days to get there. Luckily, we had the survival meals packed and had enough food for 12 days of travel. Always over-prepare for every caravan that you take, because anything can happen on the way somewhere, and you just want to make sure that you're prepared in case, someone gets an infection, someone gets hurt and has to sleep it off. Always be prepared. While they were out getting components, back at base there was another raid. 2 guys. It shouldn't be too difficult, Smiley thought, and he was right. With Gazelle equipped with a sword and Tessa and Smiley pelting them with ammo, they managed to knock one guy out and made the other raider shit his pants, running away from us, leaving a trail of urine behind him. But Gazelle was gonna need the rest, and a thought occurred to Smiley. If she doesn't heal up before the next raid, we may not be able to take out the next raid. They captured a guy named Val, or a girl, who knows, and Gazelle decided to get some rest, but before she could, she noticed something. There wasn't 2 raiders, there was a 3rd who had snuck in from the east, and he was chasing down Smiley. Oh man, where did this guy come from? Alright, I just need to get her away from this guy. he's gonna kill her, and that would suck if I lose Tessa. Oh, I'm sorry, Tessa. Things are looking pretty grim for you right now. Oh god. Oh god. No! No, this is not happening, no. Oh my god, please, Gazelle, catch up to this dude. Oh man, we're already so close to the edge. Oh my god, hurry up, lady! Move! Oh my god, please, kill this dude! Please! Oh my god, I don't want to lose Tessa, this would suck. Oh my god, thank you! And then, get this, we got hit by another raid, and you know what I did again? I let them sneak in from behind! They nearly set our animals on fire. This was bad. Smiley and his crew were screwing the cat left and right, and just when they thought things couldn't get worse, toxic fallout hit the colony. But the caravan was a success. 32 components and 2 advanced components, which we needed for our next big research plan. We needed a mineral scanner because we were going to need plasteel and gold very soon, and in fact, we were already running out of steel. But to get a long-range mineral scanner, we needed a better research bench and microelectronics. But what good was any of this if the colony dies from air poisoning at the hands of this toxic cloud hanging over the pawns' heads? This was the worst possible thing to happen to us because we still had a ton of work to do around the colony, but every time we went outside, the colonists got sicker and sicker. I had a plan, but the plan came to me a little late and I didn't have much time to pull it off. We were going to need to wall in the entire base and put up a roof. See, if you make your entire base walled in, you get protection from the adverse effects of toxic fallout. And because the entire base is walled in, we won't have to worry as much about temperature changes when walking around from room to room because everything is heated to a safe temperature. It was going to be a while before we could research the stuff we needed, but at least we would live through the toxic fallout. In this game, you have to stay flexible. If you're building a town layout for your base and you like the more open kind of layout, that's fine, but don't be stubborn. If you get hit with really bad environmental effects, just roll with it. Make the changes you need to survive and knock down those walls later if you really feel like you need to. Eventually, Smiley was able to upgrade his research bench and install a long-range mineral scanner with the advanced components Dollface traded for during the last caravan. The mineral scanner can be tuned to certain mineral signatures, and if you have someone with a high enough research skill, you can find veins of the stuff very quickly. Once you find a vein, it'll be marked on your map, because the other type of caravan that you'll be doing a lot of is mining caravans. These situations play out a little differently than a trade caravan. A mining caravan requires specifically people who can handle being outdoors. If your character is an undergrounder, they will have a mental breakdown on a mining trip. So make sure you don't have any conflicting traits. They also need to be good at mining. A higher mining skill means they work faster, and you need to be fast on these trips because other towns want those minerals too. You need to bring about 10 times the amount of food the trip says that you'll need. If it takes 3 days to get the minerals, that means it takes 6 days of travel minimum. Times 3 by 10 and bring 20 to 30 days of food. Why? Well, mining an entire vein of plasteel can take a few days, and if one of your crew loses their shit, you could be out there for days waiting for them to get it together again. You might get attacked on the way there and need to recuperate. Anything can happen on these trips, and because they take longer and require you to camp at the site, you have to be prepared. Also, bring many pack mules. If you have 3 muffalo, bring all 3. You need as much carry weight as you can get when transporting materials. Remember that 3-day trip back to base? Well, now you're all weighed down by minerals. That trip is going to take 5 days. The second thing you want to make sure is that you bring 4 doses of decent medicine for each character on your crew. You might not need them, but it's good to have when RNG is not on your side. You need at least 3 crew members. With 3 crewmates, you'll be able to mine that vein much quicker, and you'll need to because quite often, while mining, you'll be notified that an enemy faction is coming to steal the ore, and you need to get out of Dodge before they show up. So, the faster you mine, the better. Make sure you bring wood and cloth, enough to make yourself sleeping bags and walls, as well as a campfire to keep warm and cook food if needed. Find a nearby structure and set up camp in it. The less walls you have to build, the faster you can get the mining. Once you've got the ore and you've packed it onto the mules, go to the World tab and reform your caravan. We're heading back home. La Mineka and El Jefe showed up back home with a horde of plasteel, enough to make armor and some advanced weaponry. But even more than that, this opened up a whole new host of opportunities to increase the power of our colonists. But we'll talk about that soon. Raids are another type of caravan that you can do once your army is large enough to handle one. Raids come in different flavors. Raids for quests and raids on neighboring colonies. You initiate a raid by setting up a caravan and traveling to a nearby settlement or a quest marker, and once you arrive, you can set up camp or immediately attack. Quests are usually simple. There's a group of colonists not very well armed and usually easy to take out. You go in, shoot up the place, and dip out and get your reward. Simple as. But raids on other towns? That's different. These guys will have turrets and snipers, and some might even have rocket launchers and grenades. You have to prepare yourself well for these kinds of raids. Let's talk about team composition first. I will be assuming a team of 6 in this, but you can bring as many people as you want. Just keep in mind that the more people you bring, the more wealth you bring. So that may make the people at the raid site a little more stronger than you want. Now you're going to want some long-range fighters typically, someone to pick off stragglers. See, the colonists have a random movement AI, and sometimes one of them will walk a little too far from the group, and you're able to take pot shots at that guy and lure him away from the rest of his buddies. Every time you can take out a colonist without alerting everyone else, that's one less person to worry about while raiding. If you don't have any resources, you'll want to cut down some trees because you don't want to be caught out there without cover. You can create walls to hide behind for cover, and you can even create fallback structures as well, so you have a place to retreat to. But what you're really doing is drawing the enemy into your close range fighters. You want 2 of these set up near the choke point in a crossfire setup. If you have melee fighters, you want them to stand at the choke point and block the people that come through the door, and your backline fighters, 2 long range and 2 medium range shotgunners, they'll take everyone else out. If you find yourself wanting to storm the base, then it's all about shock and awe. Bring a mortar launcher and some rounds and assail them with explosives, or better yet, incendiaries, so their town burns down around them. It's a good way to flush them out of hidey holes and into the open just in time to catch a bullet. Rocket launchers are also a great way to thin the herd. Grenades, Molotov cocktails, just think of it like this. You get to do to the raiders what they are constantly doing to you. Whatever annoying thing they do that you hate, you get to do that now. You get to be the asshole, and that's why I love this game. But once the colonies started getting large and our equipment got better, it became very difficult to defend this base, and the design of it did not help. Too many points of entry for our colonists to defend, so we need to talk about raids specifically so we can learn how to get the AI to go where we want them to go instead of places we don't want them to go. Let's go visit the Sopranos over at their mountain base and talk about combat. To killbox or not to killbox, that is the question. Whether 'tis nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous raid sizes and take them with legs spread open, or suck them into your box like an OnlyFans model. That is the real question. I know there are those of you who prefer to not have a kill box and instead prefer something else. Man, I don't know, like, is there a difference between designing a kill box and designing an entire base to be defensible? Yes, they're both kill boxes, but one is way more efficient. Put it to you this way, if you play for 3 in-game years and gather enough colonists to expand, these are the types of raids that you should expect to be getting. These raids happened because instead of having 40 colonists, I decided to make super soldiers, and that raised my wealth to an absurd degree very quickly. This base got so quickly out of control and was anything but simple, and I hated defending this place. That's because I didn't want a kill box. I wanted 20 kill boxes. How do you defend against a group this big if you don't figure out a way to funnel the enemies in? I mean, I don't take issue with the size of the raids. It makes sense, after all, that an all-out raid would be this overwhelming, but a team of 3 out in the open trying to deal with this on even footing would get is handed to them. Some people say that kill boxes go against the way the game was designed, and I say bullshit. Medieval castles had gates, and inside the gates they had kill boxes in the form of boiling hot oil and fire. Lots of fire. I don't think it goes against the game's mechanics to build a blast furnace that enemies have to walk through before getting to my base to cause damage to my stuff and kidnap my people. I don't think it's unreasonable to have a pit full of carnivorous rats that they have to travel through, all while getting shot by my colonists. I think it's unreasonable to manage your wealth so much that that you don't get to explore any of the cool options available to you just so you can handle the size of raids. I think if anything, that goes against the mechanics of the game. But you should always, no matter how you feel, err on the side of what you find fun to do. If you hate kill boxes, fine, don't use them. You're wrong, but being wrong is incredibly based, and you're right as an American. I think that because the game only cares about your wealth when determining the size of raids, reducing your wealth is the thing the devs didn't intend you to do. In fact, let's talk about other ways they could have done raid size instead of basing it on wealth. Wouldn't it have been sensible to base it on the size and combat strength of each faction? If I see a hostile faction is nearby and I want to decrease their power, I should be able to go to their settlement, beat up and kidnap a few of their soldiers, and this would reduce the size of their raids because they have less people to throw at me now. If a faction is far away from my base, I shouldn't ever see a raid from those guys because it is unreasonable to assume they would travel all the way across the continent to fight me. But RimWorld isn't like that. Every hostile faction will raid you, and the size is based on your wealth, not theirs. Which is, let's face it, really dumb. It forces you to do crazy like force your enemies into a pizza oven because it's the best way for 11 colonists to deal with 40 raiders. Now, you could play in a way you don't enjoy. If you don't like kill boxes, you could just grit your teeth and bear with it, or you forego kill boxes and manage your wealth, or you could download mods. Boy oh boy, RimWorld is a great game, but it is a hell of a lot better with mods. Let's talk about the Rim War mod. This mod adds several quality of life features that make sense as opposed to no sense at all. The first thing that it does, and this might be my favorite thing, it shows the locations of caravans color-coded by the faction and has icons to denote the type of caravan that it is. The whole point of this mod is to base the size of raids from other factions based on what the faction's combat power is. Every time you sack one of their colonies, they lose combat power, and since the size of raids is dependent on the combat power of each town, you can whittle a town's power down to nothing and eventually destroy a faction completely. This makes the game feel more like a grand strategy game, and I can't bring myself to play the game anymore without this mod because raiding other bases was an aspect of the game that felt like it had no purpose, because raiding other groups doesn't reduce their power because it isn't based on what that faction has. It's based on what you have. So if you go and raid a base just to take all of their stuff, well, now the next raid that hits your base is going to be bigger because you just increased your wealth. It actually actively pushes against you from doing raiding in that way, and for that reason. The other reason is destroying all hostile factions in the game is actually impossible, because once you do, the game just starts throwing mechanoids and insects at you every raid, and I can't think of a fate worse than that. So yeah, download this mod and thank me later. Anyway, let's talk about enemy AI and how to manipulate it. Raiders are always looking for a target of value within reach, and by within reach, I mean anything they can destroy or steal without having to break down a door or a wall to get to it. The rat pit works so well because rats are a target that raiders will want to try and kill. And we can stand here shooting them while the rats aggro because the raiders never get close to our valuable soldiers. In short, to attract fish, you need good bait. So whatever type of kill box design you go with, the first rule is to make sure the junk target you've set up is freely accessible. But sometimes the enemies will bunch up on top of one another, and when your pawn moves to block them, the enemies will balloon out and push your pawns away, effectively surrounding them. To avoid this, we need to have a turret nearby, unpowered and locked behind walls and a door. This causes the raiders to have collision early, that way they can only go one at a time through each square, slowing down their movement and preventing ballooning. The channel Adam vs. Everything has a great video on how collisions work if you want to know more. Now that we know how to lure lure an enemy into our box of death, let's talk about my favorite type of kill box. I call it the self-cleaning oven. What you do is you set up this little pit right here. This is the fuel room. Build a wooden fence in every tile of this room, then deconstruct the fence so that a chunk of wood will be left behind. Because of the way destruction works, you won't always get wood, so you may have to build it a few times and destruct it until you get at least one wood per tile. Now, the reason you don't put whole stacks of wood here is because it takes the same amount of time to burn a stack of 75 wood as it does to burn one piece of wood. So it's not worth wasting 75 pieces of wood when it's going to burn just as fast as one. Then you build a hallway that winds back and forth. Put obstructions in every other square, like fences made of stone to slow the enemy down. Raider leftovers can really screw you up in the late game. Dead bodies cause your colonists to go all weepy-eyed and debuff their mood. And when you have raids of 40 to 60 enemies coming at you for several days straight, the most difficult job is the cleanup and keeping your shell-shocked soldiers sane. That's why this method is best, because being able to clean up without having to clean up is my favorite type of cleaning. There are other types of kill boxes, but this is my favorite because you don't lose work hours standing around shooting. You set it on fire and go about your day while the blast furnace does all the killing for you. All you gotta do is make sure that you have a door both at the entrance and the exit of the kill box, and you have to have those doors held open. Then you have a hallway next to it where there's no roof. That way the heat can escape through there and it doesn't end up burning up your entire base and killing all your colonists. You do this because that burn box is not technically a room until it has a door at each exit. If it's a room, it'll heat up, but if it's considered outdoors, it'll never heat up. So that's why you need doors. Even if they're held open, it'll still get hot in there. None of that, however, will work against a sapper. And sappers are guys who are assholes who see a perfectly good kill box and say to themselves, I'd rather walk over to this wall that the player clearly wants to keep intact, and I'm gonna dig through it or blow it up with grenades. These guys are anti-fun. There is, however, a simple solution. Just get rid of your kill box and instead go with a hallway entrance. The point of this hallway is there are no obstructions. If you're a raider, you could, theoretically, just walk right into my colony and wreak havoc. But you have to get through goon after well-armed goon to do that, because there are no doors and all of my colonists are in this hallway, and because the hallway isn't long and winding, this becomes the quickest path for the sapper's goal, and they don't bother digging. I've seen other people use this layout, but I have placed fences at the corners, so enemies can't sit at the entrance and take pot shots at me. Fences and other barricades force the enemy to keep moving, which means any place where you put a fence becomes a spot the enemy can't hang out in. Also, you'll notice that I've got pieces of art in each one of these little cubbies that my soldiers are going to be standing in. The reason I do that is I want them to have a mood buff for as long as possible, because the easiest way to lose a fight is that your soldier has a mental breakdown in the middle and you end up losing because all of your guys are off staring at the walls. Then the enemy funnels in, and because all of your pawns are technically in cover and collision happens before they enter the hallway, your melee guys hold them up and pelt them with shotgun pellets and charge rifle rounds. There is, however, a problem with this setup that you have to solve for: Molotovs and grenades. See, when these buttholes decide to throw one of these at you, and cover or no, your guys are taking damage. So if you see some people with Molotovs, focus them with your shotgunners and get them out of there as quickly as possible. There are other versions of this same defensive structure, and some of them are quite good against nearly anything the game will throw at you. Just remember, cover is your friend. Melee fighters up front, and if you want to be able to deal with mechs, make sure you have EMP weapons. The only thing to worry about is that you don't hit your melee fighters and short out their shield belts. Now let's talk about weapon ranges. You've got long-range weaponry like snipers, bolt-action rifles, rocket launchers, and assault rifles. These weapons are used to kite enemies from a distance. Medium-range weapons are typically good at burst damage, but some, like incendiary launchers, are used to flush out enemies from cover, and short range are weapons like shotguns and melee. These are used to ambush people from cover. For instance, you place your melee characters around the corner of hallways like this, and they body block enemies trying to push through. This forces enemies behind them to wait their turn, all while your shotgunners down the next corner are blasting the poor enemy with buckshot. Since your melee characters are still in cover, they cannot be hit by friendly fire, while the enemy most certainly can. Speaking of cover, you always want to be behind cover, and you never want the enemy to ever be behind cover. That's why you use fences and kill box hallways. It slows the enemy down and provides them very little cover while forcing them to keep moving forward. Also, trees make it harder to hit people, so if you have trees in front of your kill box where you need to be shooting people, make sure you take down those trees so the enemy has nowhere to hide. A wall will give you the most bonuses for cover, while everything else is progressively worse. So we want a wall to hide behind for each of our pawns, melee in front and shotguns behind them. This setup will work with any type of kill box, and I usually have this set up at the end of a self-cleaning oven just in case I'm facing mechanoids or, God forbid, sappers. At least my soldiers are safe in a kill box that is easily defensible. Sometimes, however, all your defenses fail and you're forced to retreat. Well, in these cases, remember, it's a bad idea to be out in the open. So always fall back to your melee fighters to a corner of a wall and position your shooters right behind them in a line 4 deep. This way, he can body block the enemy while the shooters can shoot safely without worry of friendly fire. If you don't have narrow hallways and instead went with a 3-lane setup, create choke points at the end of the halls so you can defend those positions like they were a kill box. Also, you can use doors to separate enemies from groups. For instance, if you are inside a room and you walk out the south door and hold that door open, some of the raiders will come after you. If you walk back in, those raiders may still pursue you, and then you can exit another door and further split the group until you're able to pick off the separate groups one at a time while one of your soldiers acts as a distraction. This is for people who refuse to have fun and opt out to not use a kill box. I call this the Scooby-Doo. EMPs are great because they will stun mechanoids. Always have one guy equipped with an EMP grenade because sometimes stunning these things are the only way to survive the onslaught. Miniguns. Now, you might be tempted to equip every colonist with these and create the Brotherhood of Steel, but I don't recommend it. The minigun has a fatal flaw. It has to spin up before it can be used. When fighting large enemies with a ton of hit points, miniguns excel and are your best bet at taking out those enemies, but against large groups with low HP, that delay between target acquisition is killer. If you're fighting centipedes, use the minigun. Raiders or a really big group of rats, chain shotguns and assault rifles are going to be your best bet. Molotovs are great for groups as well. Setting someone on fire will cause them to run around panicking and is a great way to thin the herd or to flush out some annoying entrenched enemies. Don't forget that lances of both types are a great way to cause chaos in groups, especially insanity lances. In general, you want to pick the right weapon for the right job. You also want the right defenses. Armor is important, but what's more important is who gets what. Melee fighters need the best armor and shield belts that money can buy. They are your front line, and if they go down, chances are everyone else is next. Make sure they get the best of whatever you have, but every armor imparts certain penalties. For instance, marine armor will debuff your movement speed by 0.4, which is a lot, trust me, while plate mail will reduce it by 0.8, which means you're basically standing still. But flak armor reduces your movement speed by only 0.12 per piece, which means a total of 0.36 when all flak armors are equipped. But recon armor doesn't reduce your move speed at all. And if mobility is key to your team or your setup, recon armor is what you want. It has great sharp protection and decent blunt and heat protection that is comparable to marine armor, but without any of the negatives that come with it. Plate armor, on the other hand, has great protection against nearly everything, but you can barely walk around with it on. Why is move speed important? Well, it's like I said before, slow colonists colonists get less work done. So keep that in mind when equipping your soldiers. You can partly negate the negatives of heavier armor by replacing your colonists' legs with bionic legs or Archotech legs if you can afford them. This sets your move speed to 125%, and with traits and other buffs to speed, you can get your guys going all over these wily coyote ass raiders. Dollface and the crew had everything they needed. They got an AI core from a quest and researched everything needed to build a ship and get off this backwards ass planet. The only issue was, once they powered up those engines, not only was it going to take 15 days to warm up, but while it was warming up, the colony would be getting attacked by every backwards savage on this planet. And if that weren't bad enough, the size of those raids were going to be huge. Like twice the friggin' size of normal raids. Dollface needed to prepare for an all-out assault, but the issue was she didn't know what the hell she was doing. Or I didn't. I like blaming the characters better. So how do you defend your base while your reactors are warming up? Well,
that's the neat thing. You don't.
And the crazy thing? That's not exactly an exaggeration. I don't know how you're supposed to defend against this kind of shit, but when I say you don't beat the game, it's not because of the raid sizes. It's actually quite easy to make those manageable. You don't beat the game because that's not the fun part. The fun part is getting your colony to cover the entire friggin' map, maintaining a base for 10 whole years, then abandoning those cute little guys for a shiny new colony in the mountains. See, the biggest problem is not the size of the raids, so much that there is very little time between raids to do things like clean up, dispose of corpses, rearm traps and minefields, repair turrets, recover from wounds, get recreation time, or even sleep. So because the raids happen so often and they're so large in size, you're going to be lucky if any of your colonists survive. So don't get too attached. Now, how do we survive this onslaught? Well, it's by combining everything I've told you in this guide and playing the game in the most strict way possible. First off, keep your colony poor. There's a bunch of ways to do that, but in essence, it comes down to getting rid of stuff you don't need the moment you don't need it anymore. Not recruiting soldiers because other colonists are some of the most expensive stuff you can own. And cutting corners quite literally whenever you can. So let's let past me explain everything. What I've done is I've created these kind of circular rooms. You may be thinking, why is he doing it that way and why is he wasting so much space? Well, I am actually being very efficient with my space. Yes, maybe not the actual space, but wealth-wise, this is the most efficient way that you can build, right? Except for like maybe a diamond shape. Diamond is probably even better. But as a circle, what ends up happening is you're allowed to cut corners, so to speak, right? So if I was to make this room the same size, but square, I would need, let's see, 1, 2,
3 hours later.
So I saved 20 blocks by doing it this way. The other thing is most people build with wood, and wood's not that great. Wood is very flammable. If you build everything out of wood, it's going to catch fire eventually, and that fire will spread very quickly through the rest of your town. And it's just not a very strong material either. And it's only about 1.5 silver less than a granite wall. And you get all these different benefits, like you can't set that wall on fire. It has way more hit points than wood. And it's not as expensive as, say, plasteel, which may have a lot more hit points, but sappers can get through walls really quickly, and it's almost kind of not worth putting a whole lot of money into your walls. So keep that in mind. On average, by building this out of granite and by building it in a circular pattern, I am saving nearly $20 on each room just in the walls alone. The other thing I see people doing a lot is that they build wooden floors. I'm guilty of this too, but when I did the math, I realized that this is actually going to cost me per tile, it's going to cost me $3.60. That's not terribly good. But a concrete floor, which is ugly, we understand that, but we don't care about that. A concrete floor only costs 1 steel. And yes, it costs $1.90, but it is $1.50 cheaper than each tile of wood, right? So yes, I use wooden tiles in the bedrooms, but that's just because I want a mood buff when they're in the bedrooms. I did not use them anywhere else. In fact, I use concrete everywhere else because I do not care about their mood debuffs because my guys create drugs. I always have drugs on hand. Like I said before, you have to have drugs on hand. Medicine. Yes, I make medicine, and I will be making medicine until I have about 20 or 30 on hand. I do that because I need medicine, and I don't give a shit. As long as we have enough supplies to keep ourselves sane, we don't have much to worry about. The other thing that I may not have mentioned, and this is really important, shelves should be in every single square of your storage rooms. They hold more stuff per square. It's just way more efficient. And I don't have a kill box because I really want these raiders to be coming in through here. I really want them to be coming in through here. I have a uranium slug turret here, and that's basically all of the defense that we have. Outside the walls, we have a turret here, a turret here, and a turret here, and here, and here, and here. And they're protected by barricades so that if somebody's shooting at them, they won't get hit as often. Now, these turrets suck. Turrets suck ass. They're not good at all. They can't hit the broadside of a fucking barn, but they have a lot of radius. See, the uranium slug turret, once the enemies get to about this range, it's going to be useless, unfortunately, right? But it has really good range all the way out to here, all the way out to here, right? But they're expensive, they cost a lot of money. So what I do is I put these turrets out there, which only cost 30 metallic, 70 steel, 3 components, right? And it sounds like a lot, and it is. Turrets are not cheap, but they are a cheap way to keep sappers away from your walls. See, if I understand the way this works, and I think I do, sappers are only attracted to walls that do not have turrets. So if I've done this right, the sappers should be coming in to this area right here instead of trying to dig into any walls, because these walls are completely covered. And you want to make sure that none of your turrets are obstructed by anything. The other thing that you want to do, and I know this is a little weird, but trust me, you definitely should do this for your turrets. You set up a stockpile zone in front of them. And in this stockpile zone, you want to make it so that nothing gets stored there except for chunks. And why are we doing that? We're doing that because we want it to be very difficult for the enemy to get to our turret. You know, if they decide that they're going to screw around and try to mess with our turret, we want them to have a nice big surprise when they get there, in that they will not be able to close distance very fast because chunks make the enemy move slower, right? It takes them longer to close distance with the turret, which means the turret becomes much more effective. And you're going to see me creating a 3x3 zone. That's actually a mistake. What you want to do is create a strip. So like a strip around it and then a gap in between that strip and then another strip. The reason why is that if a chunk is adjacent to another chunk, the enemy will not be slowed down by that. Once they get onto the first chunk, they'll just start going at normal speed. The same for fences, barricades, or sandbags. So always have a gap between them. And you can make them as big as you want. You can have them be 6, but make sure that you have a gap between every strip. And then of course, you go into orders, you go to haul things, and you have your guys haul things at a stockpile. Always pick stuff that is close to your stockpile zones. You don't want to pick stuff that's too far away because it's just going to take your guys much longer to move those rocks. And you should have plenty of rocks near, and if you don't, well, Sorry, tough titties. And I've got somebody on my team who is assigned to cleaning and hauling. Cleaning is important. You want somebody always cleaning because if the rooms are dirty, well, you're going to get a mood debuff and your guys are going to lose their minds, and that's not great. And then remember your drug policies. We want them to be able to drink a beer and keep them in the inventory, keep that in your inventory, and keep that in your inventory. But we want it always on a schedule, and we don't want anything for addictions because our guys do not have addictions. Psych IT is going to be used every 2 days. Smoke leaf joints every 2 days. Beer can be used every day. And if the mood drops below 60, yeah, I've put it up there because you don't want them to drop below 60 when you've got a situation where you're being attacked every couple of minutes, like you will when you fire up the reactor. You can even go higher than that, but this should work. That on there, and then bam, 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 bam. All right.
A few moments later.
You'll notice that I have these hallways that are connecting each room and that they're connected by vents. The reason I've done that is vents allow you to distribute the temperature controls to other rooms. You lose a little bit of efficiency in those other rooms, but you manage to cool them down or heat them up with only one heater, right? So it's way more efficient to do things like this as well because you're able to heat and cool multiple rooms with one unit, whereas you would need a unit in each room in order to do it normally. Much more efficient, much more cost saving. So the other thing that you want to look at is you want to look at maybe perhaps, making lavish meals. Lavish meals cost more to make because they'll give us a mood buff, but we want to have at least 30 of those. Well, the reason we want that is because once we start these reactors, you are not going to have time to do anything with your guys. You're going to be balls at a wall the entire time, and you're not going to have time to make these guys happy. So 8 lavish meal gives you a 12 mood buff, which is fan-freaking-tastic. So you want to create those, and you also want to have as many drugs on hand as possible. And that's just so that they don't get sad. They don't even get close to sad. You don't want that. Trust me. Okay, now the other good thing to do is to set up IED traps. These IED traps have a radius. If anybody comes within this amount of space of this turret, they're going to get blown up. And that is going to cause a lot of damage to anybody stupid enough to get close to our turret. Just make sure you don't make them close to anything that it can destroy, Don't put it next to the walls because, yeah, that'll be bad for you. You will inevitably have raiders who are going to try and attack those. And if you can blow them up before they get there, well, that's even better, isn't it? So there you go. Another way to bolster your defenses. And if you really want to get tricky, you can just start putting IEDs next to your walls and, yeah, make it really difficult for sappers to even get close to your base. I think that we're ready. We've got all of our defenses up, and now I'm going to tell you now, this isn't a perfect setup at all, right? There's too many ingress points for the enemy to hit us, but this is efficient.
Let's get ready to rumble!
How the fuck? I don't understand why didn't this blow up. Yes, come into my box. Dude, I'm sorry, but if you get killed by a turret in this game, that's pretty sad. Oh, look. Now they're defeating themselves.
Bravely ran away.
Very nice. Very nice. Oh, okay, they do explode. How you like that? So here we go. We're gonna start the ship now. Okay. This is the... It warns you. It definitely warns you like you're in for some shit right now, buddy.
I kid you not, I have seen some shit.
Oh, well, I guess we lucked out, man. We haven't gotten attacked yet, so that's good. 1 day down, 13 left to go. Oh, here we go. Ooh, that's a lot. That is a lot. Okay, here we go. Now see, this is a hell of a lot better than the raids that I was getting with El Jefe and La Muñeca, because, I mean, this many people? Yeah, that's okay. I can handle that, but what I was getting was 10 times that amount. I am not shitting you. There were so damn many that it was a little ridiculous. And look, we have help. So it's not even going to be that big a deal because we made sure that we got our reputation up with these guys. But it looks like it's not going to help. Never mind. My turrets aren't going to be able to hit shit. Boom! Get blowed up. Guys, turrets, what are you doing? Nice. These guys are helping out. Let's get on out there and take care of these assholes. No survivors, damn it. No survivors. And murder, she wrote. All right. Perfect. First raid down. And we got lucky there because we got quite a few people out there helping us. That was good. Emily tried to go all the way around. Still ended up dying. What a dumbass. Now, as you can see, we are injured. We've got 2 guys that are injured and they're going to have to go rest in the bed. And we could end up getting yet another raid here in a few minutes. Luckily, Stumpy is going to be okay. John, no, on the other hand, yeah, rest for a little while. Doctor's beds seem to have done the trick real fast. How you like that? So now that we're in a battle, we need to set this to lavish, because we want them to eat good food. We don't want their mood to drop. We have them constantly making fire foam, which is exactly what we need. We need them constantly making high explosive shells as well, because we need them to replenish the supply that we have and repair our IEDs. It's the only thing that's going to keep us alive is if we can thin the herd a bit. Sora is in desperate need of some sleep, so we're going to let her go to sleep. But we want to make sure she gets her recreation in, and we want to make sure that she gets that in. Now that she's gotten some sleep, because we definitely don't want her to have a mental breakdown. If she does, that's going to be bad. Yeah, eat a lavish meal. There you go. See? And that's already getting our mood back up. There we go. Another raid. Oh no, and it's a drop raid. Fuck. Well, all right then. I guess that's what we're doing. Sora's gonna need to go behind some cover. We're gonna get her there. Stumpy we're gonna have there. And John's just gonna get his ass right over there. There you go, John. Good job. John, get over there, hurry. Nah, Venice, you're not getting away, dude. No, sir. You made the mistake of drop podding in, dumbass. Shouldn't have done that. What day is it? We got 11 days left. We're doing pretty good. Doing pretty good. Because then we got these doctor beds and we've got good medicine. We're not having trouble healing from each attack. But did you see how it was almost back-to-back attacks there? That is kind of what happens. Damn, that guy had 14 medicine on him. My dog. Wow. So far, we're learning that the way to beat this game, if your goal is to actually beat the game, is to not play the game.
The only winning move is not to play.
That's the way to do it. Yeah. What do I mean by that? Well, I just mean that if you really want to beat the game, you can't use half of the systems in the game. You've got to be real conservative. Like, you have to build a very basic, bare bones base that emphasizes efficiency in just about every way. Like, if I really wanted to emphasize efficiency here, I could have gotten rid of these 2 walls right here and these 2 walls and just went 1, bam, done, right? And it would have cut 4 more walls out of here. So anyway, if I really wanted to be efficient, I could have been even more efficient. One of the ways you could be even more efficient is you deconstruct these corners. I know that sounds stupid and it's going to make things look stupid, but It actually helps. You'd be surprised how much it actually helps. See, I'm gonna do that now. I'm gonna deconstruct every corner in here. Because as you can see, we are getting raided a lot. So it would be nice to, you know, not have to worry about having even larger raids. Because the problem is that now that our bodies are starting to pile up, we need to start considering some disposal methods. So graves are a really good way to dispose of bodies. You don't have to look at them. And when you put them in a grave, after they start rotting, they no longer count towards your wealth, because yes, a dead body counts towards your wealth. So you want your wealth to come down as much as possible. So you always try to bury these fresh bodies or burn them. But in order to burn them, you got to have a cremator, and that brings your wealth up. So that's what we do. We've got a raid coming, so we need to get prepared for that. Oh, it's another drop pod raid. Oh my god, why? God damn it. And they dropped in where my goddamn ship is, son of a bitch. Oh my god, okay. So this guy, you need to get over there and just like delete this guy's cover. You need to get over there. Actually, you need to get over there. And as we've seen, roofs do not matter. Yeah, we leave nobody alive. Nobody gets out alive. Especially when they're trying to hurt my fucking ship. Blow me, guys. Blow me. I'm starting to wish I had a smelter right now. You know, in fact, I think I'm going to build a smelter. That way I can smelt down some of these items that I keep getting. Oh my god, another one. And it's, oh my god, it's split. It's a split raid. And there's a shitload of them. Holy fuck. Okay, well, it's not as many as I thought. But yeah, it is a lot. And we're down one guy. Shit. Well, here we go. One more time to the breach, my friend. Let's see, can we get out here in time to fuck with these guys? Probably not. And these guys up here, they've got a ways to go. I don't know why those IEDs did not blow them up, but okie dokie. Sora, get out of there. Sora, get the fuck out of there, will you? What the fuck are you doing, John? Idiot. Alright, let's get them over there, because we have no idea if these guys are gonna, like, hit us from the side or what. Yeah, this might be our easiest way through. Yeah, alright. John, get over there. John, there you go. Okay, let's see if we can catch a fucking break here. That would be nice, right? Because what needs to happen is that needs to get built, because we have to start disposing of some of these weapons. Being able to smelt some ore down, that's going to be nice. Don't get up. Don't get up, please, not on my account. All right, so what we do here is we add a bill, and we want to smelt weapons. Right? We don't want to destroy them. We want to smelt them because we want to get the iron out of that. And we're going to do this forever. And the details on this is going to be that we're going to do any quality, anything at all, because we do not want to stockpile items. But the only thing we want to worry about is that if one of our guys goes down, if we do not mark the weapon that they had in their hand as not allowed, they will smelt that item down. So if you want an extra layer of protection, make sure you set the quality to below the quality of the items that you're going to have equipped. That way they'll never smelt those down. The other thing we're going to do is we are going to smelt apparel. We can only smelt armor, and we're going to turn off the utility here. And we're always going to do tainted, never clean. Okay, because we don't want to accidentally throw our own shit in the fire. That would be bad. And now we got a flash storm, which is great. Excellent. Good stuff. This is exactly what we need. Oh god. This is bad. This is real bad, but all right. Yeah, see now John's already starting to smelt down some of those items. Oh my god, a fucking solar flare? All right, well, apparently that doesn't screw up your reactor, so that's good. But as you can see, our wealth is starting to go up, you know, simply because we happen to be killing people and not really burying them. The good thing about this fire, though, is that if it gets to here, it's going to burn up all those dead bodies, and that's going to bring down our overall wealth. So if that fire gets anywhere close to here, we are going to have to do something about that. And remember, like, if your home area doesn't extend somewhere, you cannot repair things in those areas, and you can't put out fires very easily. So yeah, make sure you specify a large enough area for your home area. What? Oh my god, lady. Okay, so yeah, there you go. We've got somebody who's out of commission for a little while, and I could not tell you why. It's because she saw a rotting corpse. You see what I'm saying here with the corpses? A good way to handle corpse disposal normally is to just throw Molotovs at them. I could do that, but then you have to manage like where people can put out fires and everything, and tell people not to put out these fires because you need them, and it becomes a little bit of a pain, so I don't do it. She's eating the lavish meals, you fool. No. And now it's a raid. Great. So we've got one guy out of commission, and we got a fire going out of control. Welcome to Rimworld, folks. Welcome to Rimworld. Oh my god. And they're so close already. They're already so close. They spawned right on top of us. Oh, that's great. Oh, that's just great. It's just great. I love it. And IEDs aren't going off, which is great. And this guy's got fucking Molotovs, because of course he does. All right, John. Get over there. Okay, well, it didn't actually get where I needed it to get, which sucks. And it's another fucking raid! Oh my god, it's a drop raid! Oh god, do you see what I'm talking about here? We just got done with a raid! Well, hopefully we can take these guys out before they can get themselves ready. Alright, well this is going to be a blitzkrieg. We're just going straight in. There's not enough of them to really be a threat, so hopefully we can take them out. As long as I can keep my range people safe, that should be okay. No, oh, what is, oh, of course he's got Molotovs. No, of course. Of course he does. Oh, great. New target acquisition. A new main target is on the board. I gotta take that lady out now. Okay, good. Alright. Fuck. Now we just gotta take these assholes out. So it looks like we're gonna be fighting these guys kind of out in the open. It's important when you're doing these kinds of fights out here in the open that you find cover. Cover is your best friend. If you're out in the open, you're gonna get hit. And every time your characters get hit, that's time that they cannot fight. So make sure you protect them by putting them into good fighting positions like this. Like notice that like I have a direct line of sight to that enemy, but their line of sight to me is almost completely cut off. That's what we want every time if we can get it. And honestly, the AI is too stupid to flank us. So if you find good position, they'll never flank you. So you could sit in there all day and pick them off one by one. Unless they have melee fighters, and then you just need to find a fallback position. Alright, well, never mind then. It is very difficult to keep things together because This game likes to throw a lot of shit at you very fast. It gives you no time to recover. At least Sora is okay now. Gonna be a lot of dead bodies, and we're gonna need a really big mass grave. Yep. So you're gonna have to adjust your schedules a lot, because you're gonna need guys to go to sleep immediately, like this asshole who doesn't want to go to sleep for some reason, and he's knocked out cold. Great. Well, that's just gonna be awesome. No? Not gonna go to sleep, huh? Just gonna keep eating. All right, great. I could feel another raid coming. I could just feel it. I could feel its aura about me. There we go. We're disposing of corpses very efficiently, or semi-efficiently. The key is you want to get them in there. You want to get them in the grave before they start smelling, because corpses can confer all types of debuffs. And another raid. I knew it, man. I said it. I said it was coming. I could feel it, you know? I went like, what, 8 hours without a raid? I knew it was coming. And Stumpy is currently having some mental issues. Let's go ahead and have him smoke. And we're gonna get the rest of these guys in position. Where do I want John to be? Like John needs to be there. Stumpy needs to be... Well, she's the Long Ranger, so yeah. We're gonna put her over here. Okay, here they come. All right, yeah, this is a good position. This is a good position because the only person that's flagging is that chick, and I could just pull Stumpy back. And now they have to come into this kill box. I probably should have put John up a little further, but you know what? Now that they're there, good bait, and I can get her out of there now. Come into my kill box, bitch. Okay, John, get back over here. And then Sora, you go here. You see how tactical this shit can get? It gets pretty tactical. You see, now that they're split up, I can have John go in there and start fucking these guys up. All right, they're retreating. All I need is like 8 hours to recover. Nah, maybe 4. I just need 4 hours to recover if that's possible. So let's see. I think I want John to immediately rest until healed. And Sora as well. It's just to ensure that they don't lose any more health before they've actually regained some. Shouldn't you be asleep, Stumpy? What the hell? Go to sleep, stupid. Oh my god. Just let me get one more of these fucking meals in me real quick. Go to sleep, stupid. God, you gotta wake up in like 3 hours. What the fuck? Alright, so since Stumpy is having a fucking issue getting herself to bed, we're gonna do this. I think I'm gonna deconstruct this. It'll bring my wealth down, but also on top of that benefit, this is providing me with absolutely no benefit because I think it's actually causing the raiders to not come into my kill box. I have to get rid of it. Oh man, they destroyed all 3. Oh, that's pretty rough. Damn, we're gonna have a problem. I can't get this shit rebuilt. Alright, we just need to get this guy right here. He looks like he's gonna be trouble. Hey. Oh my god, this is looking bad. Where the hell is everybody else? God, I don't know what they're doing, why they're taking so long. Man, John is just getting bashed. Oh, there she is. Great. Fantastic. Alright, we might actually win this. Alright, John, if you could just stay alive long enough, buddy. You know, this sucks. I just realized this. I need cover out here. I don't have any cover whatsoever for any of these guys. So it's making everything so much more difficult. I should probably build cover. So build a structure out here where I can hide people behind, because I seem to be getting a lot of raids in the south. Hell yeah, dude. Get in there, Sora. No! John! No! Oh, thank God. Okay. Oh, yeah. Man, this is tough. Oh my god. This is terrible, man. This is really bad. John is going to be, man, pretty messed up for a while. And he's going to be in a lot of pain. So, I don't know. It's going to be tough, man. It's going to be really tough. I got to keep making lavish meals, so I also have to mark animals for hunting. And see, we're managing our wealth really well. You see, we're keeping it down because every time we get a raid, it goes up and we start gathering resources, but then we start getting rid of those resources, right? We're not holding on to any guns or anything like that because we don't need them. We're smelting them all down for iron, which we immediately use to make other stuff. Wow, we're already going to need more graves. It's pretty funny. Oh my god, another fucking raid. All right, survived yet another wave of buttholes. Now everybody's injured, which is great. Bullet holes for everyone. Oh my god, come on, man. Dude, this is not okay. Oh man, I am out of turrets too. Like, all of my turrets have been destroyed. I got 2 turrets left. The rest haven't even been rebuilt. Oh god, all right, well, I'm gonna let her heal him real quick. And then we're gonna get the hell out of here. I guess we're gonna go here. All right, well, let's just, oh, they're coming into the box. And John hasn't even gotten to his position yet. So now they have cover. Fantastic. Excuse me, but what the fuck are you doing? Oh, well, this sucks. This sucks really fucking bad. No, I actually want you to go. I actually want you to go right there. Thank you.
A few moments later.
Where the hell is this raid at? Oh, it's a pincer. Okay. Let's get over here and start fucking hitting these guys up. Oh my god! Come on! Fucking Jesus! Can I recover from the last fucking raid that is still currently fucking going? Holy shit! Sora, stop what you're doing and shoot that fucking guy. Alright. Now we gotta hurry the fuck up and get up here. Look at us. They're fucking, like, ready to break down. Because, like, of course they are. Back-to-back fucking raids? Oh my god. It's too much to fucking handle. I wonder if we can get them to go in here. Probably not, but we're gonna fucking find out. Hell yeah, dude. We're doing it. Oh, fucking A, dude. Come on, John, hurry up. Smoke it. No, what? I don't, what? Who? You're doing that? No, dude. You're about to fucking have a berserk rage. Like, oh god, dude. Oh, ew, gross. Oh my god, dude. Another motherfucking raid. Alright, I think what we need to do is have John be right here. Stumpy is gonna go like right here and draw some people out, and then Sora can be right here. Yes, yes, you have fallen for my devious plan. Yeah, boy, come on. No, come on, you gotta chase me. Come on now. All right, we're gonna make them chase us. We're gonna put Sora over here. That way they have to chase us if they want to do damage to us. And the moment I break their AI, I break them. No, go fucking... What are you doing? Oh my god, go there. Okay, I've had enough of this douchebag. Eat shotgun, boy. Okay, now the fun's gonna begin here. So now the AI is forced to acknowledge our existence, and we can get John in there while these guys are focused on my ranged people. And John's really gonna mess their day up. Oh wait, they might be able to take care of them all by themselves. Dope. Wow, dude, we're wiping these guys out. You have got to be fucking joking, dude. John's gonna go down. There's no way. Oh my god, he did it. He fucking did it. Yo. Dope. Oh my god, that is so dope. Good job, bro. Wow, we have used up a lot of med packs. A ton of fucking med packs. Holy shit. How many days left? Oh, we only got 6 hours left. We did it. Oh my God, we did it. Get your goofy. Oh shit. Oh, hold on. I did not realize this was the thing I needed to do. All right, Stumpy, get your ass up and do that. Oh man. Oh no, 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 no. All right, well, you know what? It's not that big. All right, so it's only from 2 positions. I think we can handle this. We do this the right way, but we're gonna need to get over here before they do. We're gonna be a man short because we don't have my shotgunner. I don't know what she's doing, but if we can lure these guys over here to this little trap spot that John's got set up, we might be able to kill these guys pretty easy. But, I mean, yeah, damn, they seem pretty resilient. Now we gotta get the hell over here in time to intercept these assholes. Wouldn't it be awful if I just like lost 2 of my guys right now? Just to lucky crits or something. Oh my God, it would suck so bad. I'm so close I could taste it. Oh my God, come on, kill this dude. Oh my God, we did it. We did it! Oh man! Oh, it's clear sailing from here, fellas. All right, but check this out. I need you over here doing this. Yeah, there you go. Good, 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 good. All right, now let's get the hell out of here. Let's get the hell out of here. Oh, we are ready to go. Let's launch that shit, baby. Let's go! And then they all died. And that is all I've got to say about that. RimWorld is a gigantic game. There is a lot to it. And it took 3 months to make this video because I really wanted to try and get as many things right as I possibly could. I know there's probably still things in there that are wrong. I was catching mistakes as I was making this video. It's part of the reason why it took so long. So all of you that stuck by me, all the patrons that stuck by me, you guys, I want to let you know, you got me through a really, really tough period in my life right now. Let me tell you a little bit of what's going on. My roof almost collapsed. We had to put $12,000 into that. In order to do that, I had to borrow money from my father, like at this age, because of course I did. And in those 3 months, you know, you're making very little money because, you know, YouTube is a real harsh mistress. So I just want to thank all the patrons for sticking around, the ones that did, the ones that didn't give up on me. Thank you. You guys are awesome. And you continue to keep this channel alive. I also have signed up for college. That's right. Your boy Paulie is going back to school. He's going to be learning how to do programming. That's correct, right? And in a related series of events, I am also pretty close to releasing my first game. It's not what you probably think would be coming from me. It is a really weird roguelike platformer. Little secret about me, Path of Exile 1, probably one of my favorite games. I have like 9 or 10 characters on 2 different platforms that are all maxed out. I love the game. I love the game. I just put another 50 hours into it recently. And those are the kind of games I like. So those are the kinds of games that I'll probably make for a while until, you know, I get things together and I start, you know, actually figuring out how I want to design games and everything. And I start building systems. Because like right now, I've already built a system for procedural generation and I'm really happy with it. And this is without any formal education. So I'm really proud of myself. I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but that was really difficult. And it was something I never thought I'd be able to do. So the fact that I was able to do it, I don't know, it's just inspiring to me. It makes me want to keep going. So that's why I'm going back to school. And yeah, so just keep an eye out. The game is tentatively, we don't know if we're going to keep calling it this, but Kill All Creepers. It's spelled with a K, so it's Keck. Don't read into that. So anyway, been real fun. Great game. I hope all you are doing well. I hope your Christmas was good. I hope your New Year's is even better. And I hope things get better for all of us, because it's looking grim. Love you. Hang in there, and bye-bye.